This video response is going to go out to R4H Ministries, and that is because you uploaded a video entitled Debunked. As a Christian, I don't need to talk about Jesus. Now, I do have a lot of people, they will view a video like this, and then they will walk up to me and say, hey, as a Christian, you should agree with everything they say and do. And my answer is, don't count on it. Then they say, wait a minute, but you're a Christian. Don't you agree with everything they say and do? And my answer is, not really. I'm going to split up my video into two different parts. 1, presentation. 2, content. And I will explain all this in just a minute. But let's start with presentation. I agree that these are some of the best flash-in-the-pan graphics I have seen on a Christian video in a very long time. And I also marvel at the speed of this presentation. You didn't stutter once. You didn't have to do a whole bunch of editing or everything else. I mean, this was a smooth, free-flowing video. I'll give you that. But I have to question the motivation in doing such a presentation like this. Was it A, due to the flash-in-the-pan graphics, you were anticipating that whoever watched this video would be more likely to put it on their Facebook page, their Twitter, or some other social media site like Tumblr, and by doing it that way, you were anticipating them spreading this around the internet, thus getting you more views and making this video viral? Or was it B, due to the speed of this video, you were anticipating that people would watch this video more than once to try to acquire the content of the video, therefore augmenting your view count, therefore causing your video to go viral and get spread around the internet that way? Or was there some other C, motivation, that I don't know anything about? Now, is there anything wrong with using flash-in-the-pan graphics or speed like this to attract attention? Not necessarily. But if you're relying more on the flash-in-the-pan graphics or the speed of your presentation to get your video spread around and less on what the content of the video is, then there might actually be a problem. Here's the reason why. We go to Matthew chapter 12, verse 38. And this is when Jesus was dealing with the Pharisees, and he was saying, basically in a nutshell, he was saying, I'm not going to put on a magic show to prove that I am God. The content of my message should be more than clear enough for you. When making a Christian video like this, you should rely so heavily on your content that these are like second features. You're not relying on the flash-of-the-pan graphics. You're not relying on the speed of your video. You're relying on your content to cause people to want to spread your video around. It was the same type of deal with Jesus. It was the content of his message that caused people to spread the word and caused Jesus to be so popular. See what I mean? I personally make videos with heavy-duty content, and I rely on that content to get my videos spread around. And I do a pretty effective job. And I don't need flash-in-the-pan graphics, and I certainly don't need high rates of speed to get my message across. In other words, I'm not relying on a magic show to get people to learn. So, let's see what you have to say about that. Alright, now let's move on to content itself. At the beginning of your video, you define the word evangelism. Okay? And you didn't present the dictionary definition of evangelism. I thought that was wrong. You should have done that. If anybody ever asks me, I will happily present the dictionary definition of evangelism. I think it's very vital. If anybody ever asks, that's exactly what I'll do. Okay? Now, the second thing I disagree with your video is, it's not a good life these people are living, it's a righteous life. Those two terms are completely different. There are a lot of non-Christians out there today that live a good life. And they have lots of friends. But that doesn't mean they live a righteous life. The apostles lived a righteous life. Jesus lived a righteous life. And there is a humongous difference between a righteous life and a good life. Okay? So, you really need to define the difference between the two. Okay? So, now, here's what I have to say. When people observe your righteous life, and they start asking you questions, then you should start telling people why you live a righteous life. You don't have to go to everybody's door. You don't have to go like a door-to-door salesman knocking at the door at 10 o'clock in the morning saying, hey, we're going to talk about Christianity now. Did you see the apostles walking into pagan temples on a regular basis saying, hey, look, we're going to talk about Christianity right now? They didn't do that. They talked to people who were interested in what they were doing and what they were saying. Sure, they evangelized, sure, they proselytized, but they didn't just bombard people with Christianity. That's wrong. See what I mean? I see this so often with Christians. They will go to places where they know they're not going to be welcome, and they will start trying to spread the good word, the good message. And it's like all you're going to end up doing is getting yourself arrested and possibly even killed. That's not a good thing. So, anyway, let's go on here. Now then, another thing I see about Christians a lot, and I wish they changed their attitudes on this, is they'll get somebody interested in Christianity. Let's say they get a new convert. And then they will suddenly hand this new convert a Bible and some other books and say, well, just go out and read them. And everything will make sense. Wrong. That's because you're counting on two things, and you shouldn't. Number one, you're counting on the fact that these people can actually read. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. Two, maybe their comprehension level isn't as high as it ought to be. Listen, when a person has a 6th grade reading level, it's not the same as a high school reading level or even college level reading. Okay? So don't count on their reading and comprehension skills when you're trying to educate them about Christianity. You read the books with them and make sure that they're comprehending the message that's in that book. And that includes the Bible. You would think that the Bible would be easy enough to understand, but not always. Read with them. Don't make them read on their own. Bad mistake. Now, another mistake people make is they'll get these fluffy Christian books. Now, these Christian books have a lot of fluff in them, but they have very little content. So it's not really educating these people at all. You might think so, but it's not. I got in contact with a YouTuber known as Tecton TV. Okay, his real name is James Patrick Holding, alright? I got in contact with him. And he started recommending books, and I've read 2 of them. And I can tell you what, I got more out of these 2 books than some of the other Christian books that I have read along the way. So you really got to watch out. There's a lot of Christian fluff out there. What you need is some meat and potato stuff. And these 2 books, they're meat and potato stuff. They're not like anything I've ever read. So, be mindful of some of the Christian fluff books. That's exactly what they are. They're nothing but fluff. To give you a great example of this, how many times do I hear Christians say it? Oh, I'll pray for you. That's wrong. I mean, do we really have to go back to the parable of the Good Samaritan? That was the problem in that area. We had priests that were walking past people that were assaulted and dying on the streets, and they were saying, I'll pray for you. That's what they were doing. pray with them, not pray for them. Big difference. 2, what did the Samaritan do? He didn't just pray for the victim. He picked the victim up, took him to an inn, and made sure they recovered before he went on his way. It's prayer and action. You go up to God and you say, is there anything I can do about this situation? If not, let me know. If there is, let me know. Because not always is God going to solve the problem. He may want you to solve the problem. He may give you the instructions to solve the problem. After all, it wasn't God that went into Pharaoh's court. It was Moses who went into Pharaoh's court. It wasn't God who faced off with Goliath. It was David who faced off with Goliath. God gave David the power, but David was the one who threw the stone. And must I remind you of Joshua and the falling of the walls of Jericho? Yes, God was the main component in causing the walls to fall down, but he did tell the Israelites what to do, and they followed God's command. The point is, God has his part, and he has a part for you as well. God may give you the resources to buy sympathy cards. He may even give you the capability and the poetry to make sympathy cards. But then he expects you to actually send out the sympathy cards. If God gives you a book like this, he expects you to read it. See what I mean? God has his part, you have your part. God gives you the seeds, God gives you the ground to plant in, he gives you the sun, and he gives you the rain. But if you don't plant those seeds into the ground, those plants won't grow. It's that simple. And another message I'd like to give to people. God cannot hand people higher paying occupations who are not qualified to work in those occupations. If you don't have the education to be an accountant, God can't make you an accountant. It doesn't work that way. That's why I run my YouTube channel the way I do. To give people the necessary skills to get those higher paying occupations. Give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach him how to fish, and he eats for a lifetime. I don't care if that is a Chinese proverb. Every Christian should know it. That's the difference. Christians should go up to people and say, here's your sandwich, and now we're going to teach you a job skill that's going to get you out where you can actually earn real money. So I don't have to give you a sandwich tomorrow. And that's what you do. So, do I agree with most of the video? Yes, I do. Do I agree with all of it? As you can clearly see, I don't. So, feel free to refute me in any way, shape, or form. I'd love to hear your response. I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.